Alrighty then, so we are all set. We are live and we are recording. So, everyone, this is Cameron. Welcome to the show. He is the current CEO of Praxis. Thank you, Cameron, for coming on the show. It is awesome to have you here. Just to kind of get us started, what can you give us kind of the pitch for Praxis? What's the Praxis pitch? Can you give that for us? Since we have a lot of new people on the show.
First of all, Bryce, thanks for having me on. Excited to talk to you about all things Praxis and whatnot. So Praxis, very simple. We are a college alternative for more entrepreneurial and business-minded young people that are looking for a more direct path to getting their career started. So how Praxis works, it combines a 6-month boot camp and then job placement into a full-time job plus ongoing job support, coaching, etc., from staff, advisors in our network. And essentially what we've done over the last 7 years is we wanted to build what is the ideal transition for a more entrepreneurial young person into their longer term career, and as well as their adult life. And more than anything, we think real world experience should be at the center of that. So everything we do in the program is focused on, one, getting you to that point where you feel like, hey, I have officially started my career. I'm no longer working, hourly, typical part-time hourly wage jobs that are great to have in high school and early to get experience and everything. But it's okay, this is something I can build off of. And as opposed to the college route where it's hey, go through this whole formal education process for 4, 5, 6 years, then you'll have this degree that magically, tells an employer that, you can now be hired. Why not just start getting experience right away? That's the best way to learn what you're interested in professionally, as well as, of course, actually, develop and gain valuable professional skills.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with that too. Because to me, when I was growing up, I wasn't really too crazy about going through college. I didn't really feel that college wasn't really teaching me enough to be on my own, self-sufficient. And I felt I was learning more running my own business at the time, doing yard work and odd jobs for folks that, maybe sitting in a classroom for the next 4 or 5 years isn't the best choice, and ending up in debt. So I'm really happy to have gone through the apprenticeship, and now I'm an alumni. I work with a great job, great business partner, Stupid Raisins, get to work remotely from home, and now I'm doing this kind of fun stuff, and which is great.
Yeah. Oh man, you're a great example of what we're trying to help participants do through the program.
Oh yeah, and it's also really cool to kind of go through the Praxis community and just see what everybody's doing as they go through and even afterwards. I've been seeing a lot of people publishing books. I've been seeing a lot of people starting companies and just going crazy after it. It's really cool.
Yeah. I think more than any, we get a lot of questions from people that are interested in the program. It's hey, what will I learn in Praxis? And there's plenty of, specific, tangible, hard skills that participants learn through the program and everything. But, I always come back to more than anything, the one thing I want participants taking away from the program is an entrepreneurial mindset to their career. And that doesn't mean you have to, start your own company or become a business owner one day. It really just means that you see the world around you with an opportunistic mindset, and you're willing to put in the work to go and do the things that you want, as opposed to just waiting for permission to do them.
Right. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I had kind of a different mindset when I was going through school. It was kind of, especially when it came to writing for myself. I absolutely hated writing before I went through Praxis, but then after I set up my own personal website and I started doing the monthly blogging or the weekly blogging, I really got into it. And later this next year, actually, I'm going to be writing and selling my first book. So that is awesome. Yeah. And then
what's your book going to be about?
So I love Dungeons and Dragons. If you've ever heard of that game, that tabletop game. So I personally love writing the background characters, writing the background for the characters, And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put together 50 short stories since this is
Oh,
my
wow.
first book, so I want to try different writing styles and see what I like and see what really fits, and then put those together into a book and then sell those online.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So,
That's awesome.
so yeah, next month is a little project for myself. So what I'm going to be doing is every week I'm going to be writing about 3 short stories, and then I will have on my website, my personal website, basically a subscriber content area. So people will pay like $5 to gain entry to it, and then they
Yep.
can go through and read all these short stories I've written. So that way I'm
That's,
earning a little money while I'm making the book, and then when the
yep.
book is ready, there you go. It's great.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think writing is a great example of how school kind of just numbs that creative spark that
Yeah.
that individuals have. And of course, like, this is the same for me growing up with everything related to school. Was if you were writing, that meant you were having to write a specific essay with a on a specific topic with a specific word count. It had to be this certain style of writing, and meeting certain standards, whatever, as opposed to what can I do with my writing that's actually creating value
Mm-hmm.
either for myself or for other people.
Right.
So, like you mentioned, how participants blog in the program,
Mm-hmm.
and they're creating their own websites, and they're writing about the things they want to be. And there's a dual focus of, hey, like, having a track record of strong writing, that's a really valuable piece of your portfolio as far as like landing the types of job opportunities you can through the program. But beyond that, like, it's really up to you what you're interested
Oh yeah.
in. And we try to allow participants to like follow their interests as much as possible. And that's really just doesn't really happen in a typical school environment.
Yeah. It's in college. It's you got to write for your professor. You're not writing for you, and you're
Or your
just
audience, like, who's the audience you're trying
yeah.
to
You're not really reaching out to
capture,
anybody.
right?
You're just trying to appease your professor. You're trying to make them like you. That's pretty much all you're doing. Because as soon
Right.
as that's done, you're just gonna toss the paper. That's what I did for the most part. I didn't really keep any of mine because there was no point in doing
Yep.
so. So now that I've gone through Praxis, it's like, oh man, I have some cool stories that I can share with people, or just like how-to stories. That's what I did a lot of the time for my 30-day blog challenge, was writing how-to stuff on things that I know how to do: mowing yards, running a small business, raising animals, that sort of stuff. So it was really cool writing about that stuff. But yeah. So how long? So okay, I know you personally have been a part of Praxis for a while now. So how long have you been in Praxis as a staff
Yeah.
member, I should say?
So I've been involved with Praxis from the very beginning. I
Okay.
interned with the person who started the company before he started Praxis, and it was during my internship. He was really getting serious about launching Praxis, and I think I was like the fourth or fifth person he talked about the program with.
Mm-hmm.
I was working for him. That's Isaac Morehouse, by the way. And we developed a close relationship. And as soon as he told me about Praxis, it immediately resonated with me personally, given my own education experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I became pretty disillusioned with not just college, but just in general formal
Mm-hmm.
education, both K through 12, and my own experiences at college and everything. And I was finishing up school myself, and I knew this was something I wanted to be a part of long term.
Mm-hmm.
And he bootstrapped the company, so it's not like we had a bunch of funding behind us and he was just looking to hire people left and right. Like, he had to go out and prove the model
Mm-hmm.
on a smaller scale just to get started,
Right.
essentially.
That's really
So
cool.
I looked at that as an opportunity, and I actually joined the very first cohort of participants of Praxis back in February 2014. And I was recently graduated college. I had a great job that I had lined up
Mm-hmm.
uh, after college in Atlanta, and I still wanted to go through the program for two reasons. One is, like, I could definitely see myself being part of the team, and I just wanted to do anything possible to be valuable to the company. And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, what could I do? Like, what does the company need more than anything right now? And that's paying customers. So I became one.
There you go.
Through that experience, like, I loved my experience, but through that, as far as like, hey, how can I position myself to be part of the team? I got to like learn what the initial program experience was like from the perspective of a participant. And I also, got to be around the very early team members and, develop my relationship with Isaac and everything, so that naturally by the time I was graduating the program, we had started growing a little bit more. And when Isaac was ready to bring on talent, I was well positioned to join
There
the
you
team
go.
there.
And that just worked out perfectly, didn't it?
Yeah, it worked out great. A few months, I graduated. I finished the program in like November of 2014, and then within a
Nice.
few months, I was on the team. Yeah,
That's pretty good.
and yeah, and for me as a participant, like, I didn't want to just do the program for the sake of like, hey, I really believe in this. I want to work on this myself. I was also searching really for the last couple of years of college for at times I didn't know what, but there was times I heavily considered dropping out of school, and I just never really quite pulled the trigger. There weren't things like Praxis in
Right.
existence to jump to as your next step. um, and even this was a decade ago, so even more so back then, it was just a big social stigma to leave school and stuff.
Right.
But regardless, as I was entering the professional world myself after school, I just felt like there was something missing, and I definitely needed some kind of like training and education. I knew it wasn't going to be the traditional like getting a MBA or some kind of master's degree. Like, I was
Right.
done with academics and everything. But when so Praxis, it kind of was just like this 1 year more entrepreneurial approach to professional development. That's really how I saw it. And it's like, hey, through this program, I can learn how to become a stronger employee for the company that I was working for out of school. And more than that, kind of on a bigger picture, longer term scale, I knew I wanted to approach my life, especially my professional life, like in that more entrepreneurial way. And that's not something like I didn't grow up. I didn't have like family members that were entrepreneurs or business owners. I, I felt like I was missing that skill set. And again, it
Right.
was more of a mindset than anything. So that's what Praxis provided me, is like those mental models and the right attitude. Like, hey, like, I can actually go do the things I want. I don't need to have like specific formal education credentials. I just need to know how to add value to a company that I'm interested in working for, or customers that I want to be serving through my own thing. And Praxis really gave me a solid foundation to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that because you know what? I started Praxis with pretty much no technical knowledge whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I ended up in kind of a technical role. I ended up as an operations deputy, for those of you who don't know, at Stupid Raisins. So I'm pretty much the guy who builds the systems in the background and makes the websites run and make sure everything looks right. I take all the pieces from my coworkers and I put it on the page. That's pretty much what I do. And it's a really fun job. I personally enjoy it because I get to learn the systems of how a startup, a small business works. And then I'm going to be taking that same system and I'm going to be applying it with my own product in the future.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really
That's
cool.
awesome. Bryce, I'd love to hear more about your experience at Stupid Raisins.
Yeah, sure. So, oh man, where to start? That's the good question.
Yeah, yeah. Well, tell me more about when you first got there. Like, how would you describe your role and the work you did and stuff?
Oh man. All right. So right at the beginning, when I first got started with Stupid Raisins, I should also mention real quick that the job offer that I got from Dylan to work at Stupid Raisins was literally on my birthday, April 22nd. So I thought that was awesome. So pretty much right at the beginning, it was learning how to use the new website builder that Stupid Raisins was moving into. So that was ClickFunnels. And so I pretty much was the one who's going in and reading all the books. I still have a stockpile of books on my shelf over here. Just all the different, what is it, .com secrets? Yeah, .com secrets, traffic secrets, that kind of stuff. And then also going through the webinars, listening to the recordings, and just learning what exactly ClickFunnels works, how it works, and then also what the mindset is behind it. Because essentially, in a nutshell, I'll just quickly share with you what that is. And pretty much you just have your one product. So let's say in my case with my book, it is your main book. Say you're selling it online for $25, and then you have an upsell for, let's say, the audiobook version, and then also in the next page after they purchased one or both of those, you can say, oh yeah, do you want to get a copy of this for your friend as well? And then suddenly you go from paying $5-10 for advertisement to you just made $200 within maybe 3 sales, 3 clicks right there. And that was pretty much kind of the nutshell that I learned and took on. And then from there, I just kind of started building slowly the different pieces of the Stupid Raisins website. So I built like the different sign up forms, so like coming soon. So like people who want to get onto our email list, I figured out how to set that up properly. I set up how to deliver products to customers. I learned how to set up kind of the members area, so that way people can see, all right, this is the video on how to install the product, and then this is the product itself in case I missed the link that was there earlier. It's there for me just in case. So yeah, it's really cool. And also working with the team, they're really, really friendly, really engaging, and you know, they're really good people. And I really enjoyed working with them. They're amazing. I love these guys. I love these folks. They're great. And they're from all over the world too, which makes it even better for me. Because now I only really talk with people in the United States or within my own small community, and it's really cool to kind of hear from the Philippines, from Australia, or from New Zealand. It's really cool to hear from people all over the world. It's really neat.
Yep, absolutely. What was like in your first, you know, how long have you been at Stupid Raisins now?
Oh man, so that was April 22nd. That would mean I've been in there for 34 weeks as of right now.
Okay. What's been the kind of biggest challenge for you so far?
I'd have to say because because I work in a kind of a technical field, technically speaking. Technically. Always using that word, don't know why. It was learning how to do kind of the WordPress coding because I never knew coding. I never knew how to code it. So I took it upon myself to start learning how to code, and slowly as I was getting more projects, I always kept asking Dylan, hey, if there's a project with coding, hand it to me so that way I can start learning this, so that way I can better understand how to work and get this functional. And then also it's just kind of making sure to organize what he had originally, and then making it so that way it was a clean system, so that way next month it's not, oh dang, where is that image that I'm supposed to have to, oh, it's just right here and here and here, because that's where it's supposed to be. So it was kind of more of an organizational thing, kind of an organizational and learning how to code for me. That's kind of where it was.
How did you learn how to code? Were there like free courses online that you took?
So
what was your process?
So for me, I kept asking Dylan for projects specifically around, so let's say we needed to update an image. All right, I want to figure out how to do that. So I'm trying to find problems and then learn how to solve them, and then I can go from there and kind of expand the knowledge. Sure, I don't understand exactly what the code says, but I have an idea that, oh yeah, changing this piece right here causes this to happen. Like change the R to an E, and then now the button redirects it to the different website page or an error, stuff like that. That's kind of how that was for me. I didn't really look at like free stuff too much, or like videos. I did kind of go through and find like specific videos for very specific stuff. That was mostly YouTube for me. Yeah, that's most of my job. Just Google it. But yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, but it was a lot. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, kind of learning and going through and doing that, and comparing that to like being in school and stuff. It's like I prefer this because then it's something practical that I know I'm having to do, and I know this impacts the company. I know I'm improving things, so it helps. It's really cool.
It's such a confidence builder to be like, hey, like what I'm learning and what I was able to implement is actually having an impact on the business, rather than like, hey, like great, someone gave me an arbitrary good grade on something.
Right. Yay, I got the code right. Yay.
Yep.
But yeah.
That's awesome.
That's really good. All right. Pull up some questions here. So, all right. So we kind of talked about that stuff a little bit. So when it comes to Praxis looking for new participants to join the apprenticeship, what are you looking for in the new participants? What are you looking for?
Yeah, great question. So it really is our approach to our own application process, and what we look for in new participants is it's very different. It's much closer to what would a company want to see in like young talent that they want to invest in and develop, rather than, hey, we're a college, send us over your transcripts and write us an essay, and we're going to make our decision based on your GPA, essentially.
Right.
We look for a combination of someone that has a strong work ethic, someone that has ideally above average work experience for their age, for their life stage. That's really important because in Praxis, people are doing Praxis right out of high school the majority of the time, or if they're like dropping out of college after their freshman, sophomore, junior year, or like they just never went to college and now they're ready to like really start focusing on their career a few years down the road. Praxis is a great fit, and because of that, like we're working with young people, we're helping them get the types of jobs that usually, anywhere from a recent college grad to someone with 2-3 years of experience will be looking at. So you're getting a significant head start on your career. And really it just comes down to, do you have the maturity, work ethic, intellectual curiosity, and dedication to be ready for that? But not just that, because we're not looking to just help companies get okay candidates for their jobs. We want to be working with people that really want to take a more active, like proactive approach to their career overall.
Right.
And it really is like that takes a special attitude to be able to put in the work to do that, because it takes courage.
Yeah.
Because
there's a lot of failure. You have to face a lot of failure when you're going through that. I know I did.
Yeah. And there's also going to be a lot of people that are just like, wait, you're not in college? Why are you not in college? And you need to be able to just be comfortable in your own skin, essentially, and be ready for those types of questions and such. So really, we want people that are willing to work hard to create and build the life that they want. And I guess that's the other part of the equation, is just there's a certain level of ambition that we look for. Like, we're not trying to help people just go out and get like a good stable job that they can have for 20 years and has a decent salary, and they'll get gradual raises over time, and that will come with good health benefits and stuff. Like, of course you want all those things, but if that's like your biggest priority as far as your career goes, you're not going to be a good fit for Praxis. If you want to focus on learning through experience and being around successful entrepreneurs, other talented professionals that are doing things differently for themselves and the type of work they're doing, if you're interested in doing something more interesting than just sitting in a cubicle all day, essentially, and doing those like rote tasks and everything, and then clocking out 9 to 5 and just watching Netflix every night, then Praxis is not going to be the program for you.
Right.
But if you're someone that has a growth mindset that's like, hey, when they look at the 12 months of the program and they're like, all right, this is a challenge to become the best version of myself that I can become over a year,
Mm-hmm.
and you get excited about that, then there's definitely a possibility you could be a good fit.
Nice. So I know as a part to kind of like help show ambition, what do you look for in terms of like when people trying to show ambition? I know like projects and stuff are usually a pretty good idea. Do you have any suggestions for folks in terms of like ways that help them show that they have that ambition? Do you have any suggestions on
Yeah.
that?
So I think the biggest thing that I look for personally is, are you doing things outside the classroom where
Mm-hmm.
you're actually just taking your own initiative?
Okay.
So that can be any number of things.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that has, throughout high school has worked different retail and customer service jobs and all those things, full time, part time through school, whatever, during summers, all that type of stuff. That always sticks out. And not just working them, but someone that shows like they have a great attitude and relationship towards work, like they value work
Mm-hmm.
themselves. I think that's a great way to show that type of ambition that we're looking for.
Okay.
And then it doesn't have to be formal work experience. We also love to see people that have like you did, Bryce, like
Mm-hmm.
started their own lawn care business in
Yeah.
their neighborhood and everything. And that's, in some ways that can be a very simple thing, but just like, all right, you're essentially, there's a version of that where you're just essentially mowing a few neighbors' lawns and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a version of that where it's like, hey, I'm approaching this as a business, as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
That shows us you have the type of ambition to build something more for yourself. Again, in that more like entrepreneurial way.
Yeah.
And anything like that. Like there's been tons of things. We've had applicants that have put on, like charity events for nonprofit orgs in their area and stuff. And it's like, I actually set out to create this thing and
Mm-hmm.
then I actually executed that, as opposed to people that just like, hey, it'd be cool if I did this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the other thing is we look for people that are self-directed learners. So whether you're in a more traditional education environment or not, you're already showing signs of taking your own personal education into your own hands.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, and I have a good example for the charity one. So, for those of you in the Boy Scouts of America, your Eagle Scout project, which is pretty much your grand project that you do to achieve your Eagle rank, that is a great example right there. Personally, mine was I am an Eagle Scout. Mine was for my local Waller Road Grange, where I ended up clearing out the stables, the old rundown stables that they had, took out all the rotten wood, all the weeds and everything that were overgrown in there, put down a nice layer of wood chips, built 3 large picnic tables. I had to fundraise, I had to bring in volunteers, had to plan this whole thing out. This took maybe 2 years in total, and we got it done. Now the community has this awesome new venue to enjoy. And that was one of the projects that I personally pitched to Praxis, saying, "Hey, this is what I did."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's such a cool example. And again, it's that attitude, that optimism of like, hey, like I can make a valuable contribution here, and I'm willing to put in the work to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really what you need to look for in people. So, speaking of people, when it comes to business partners, what are you looking for when it comes to business partners? Why do you accept the certain type of business partners that you accept?
Yeah, so we work with a range of different types of companies. Stupid Raisins is a great example.
Mm-hmm.
They're less than 10 employees.
Yes.
And it's essentially a online small business.
Mm-hmm.
And Bryce, you were the first participant placed there.
Yes.
And the way we looked at that opportunity, one is you always want to know the leadership involved in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And one, like you're trying to just really figure out like, are these good people
Mm-hmm.
more than
Yes.
anything? Do they have a track record of professional success? Like, are these the types of, leaders inside a company that we would be excited for our participants to learn from, early on in their career? And then are you going to have a more like dynamic learning experience inside that company? And then finally, is there a growth opportunity? Like, we don't want our participants just to be like 6 months in, 6 months out at a company. Like, we want to set them up for longer term success so that if their initial like 6 months inside that company goes well, they're performing well, they're doing their job well, there's going to be opportunities to grow from there. And if it ends up like whether it's in 6 months or 12 months or longer, like you're ready to move on to the next thing, but you still got a really valuable short-term experience, then that's great too. Like, we're not trying to lock our participants into just one opportunity.
Right.
The whole point of Praxis is that, is to help you develop the skills that you can navigate your own career long term. But the types of companies that we work for, essentially, they offer a more intensive work experience so that 6 months at one of those companies should really feel like you've learned as much as somebody would in the first 2 to 3 years at a pretty good company.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And that requires a lot of work. Like, if you're going to learn a lot from the experience, that means you're putting in a lot of work to learn those things and to create value. So we work anywhere from 5 to 10, 15 employee small businesses that are growing to tech companies with 300 to 500 employees. But we look for younger, more dynamic companies with a higher growth trajectory, so that you're going to go in there, and in the first 6 months, it will probably feel like your world's been turned upside down a little bit. That's the type of intensive and experience that we want participants to have. But that's how you grow, is through those challenges. And then, I think one of the things I'm most proud of is that the vast majority of our participants, they stay with the companies that they were placed with, for 1 to 3 years, and they're very quickly gaining more and more responsibility in their companies, and they're able to do different types of work, and they're exposed to different types of work. So even if you're going into like a full-time operations role or a sales role, the company should be nimble enough that you can get to know the marketing team and maybe
that's exactly what's going on for me as well. I came in mainly for the operations, but I also have a hand in the marketing end of things. So I get to help out with the emails and figure out where the advertising needs to go and such. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, tell me more about what you're helping on the marketing side.
So mainly on the marketing side, it's fairly simple for me anyway. It's just making sure that whatever copy that our writer puts together is put out every week, and I'm talking with Dylan most of the time to discuss like events or anything, when the sales are going on, what needs to be done for the sales, who exactly are we talking to whenever we're sending out emails, that kind of stuff. That's what I'm involved with. I'm just helping out with the planning because from my own experience, I have the entrepreneurial background. It kind of helps to have that extra ear kind of to talk to, and that's kind of what I do for the most part in that regard. But yeah, I help out with sending out the emails and making sure that those get sent to the right people for the most part.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. And just kind of like trying to figure out, all right, how do we get more people to respond to these emails? What can we do to improve the landing pages? Is there something that people are getting stuck on? Stuff like that. Just trying to answer those questions. It's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the types of like, I love those, just the problem solving that naturally comes from all those types of like marketing, more analytical, like, all right, let's look at what our conversion rates are and everything.
Yeah, because every month I put together the sales report and I say, all right, we did good last month. This month's a little bit shaky, but this is how we can probably improve it for next year. That kind of thing. That's what I help out with, which is really fun. I really enjoy this type of work. And it's setting me up too to eventually run my own business, so that is great. So I'm super stoked.
Yeah, that's more than anything. We want to give our participants the type of environment to be learning what they want to do next.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about, putting you in a job that's like, hey, here's your 20-year career track in front of you. It's the best early career opportunities. They really just focus on like, hey, this is equipping me to be ready for, the next things that I'm most interested in doing.
Yeah, it's helping you to be self-efficient. You need to understand how to go through working. You need to understand moving for the first time. And actually, that's kind of a big part for Praxis, is getting people to move out from the family for the first time ever. I was a little bit different. I ended up getting a remote position, so I got to stay home. But I truly am trying to save up as much money and get my butt out as soon as I can. But yeah, it's kind of a fun part to get that first move out. I really want to try that.
Oh yeah, it's great. I think honestly, a lot of the times that like moving to a new city for the first time and being out on your own, that has just as much of an impact on our participants as like what job you're working and stuff. Because again, like at the end of the day, the reason why you're doing Praxis is because you want to build something for yourself. And, it doesn't mean you have to like immediately move out on your own or anything. Everybody's timeline is different, but I think it's important to take those steps towards independence.
Yes.
And, the earlier on in your life, the more important that is. And I think it's really cool. Like we have 18, 19, 20-year-olds that have been living on their own, figuring out like how to live in a new city, meet friends, build a social life, how to do all those like fundamental, adult type things as they're also like jumping into a full-time, higher level type of job opportunity too. So it's a lot to juggle. But the way I look at it is these are all things you're going to have to learn and figure out for yourself anyway. So the sooner you can get started, the better off you're going to be. And forget about like, hey, like, do I think I'm failing or succeeding right now? It's if I do these things now, what does that mean for like the person I'm going to become 3 to 5 years from now?
Right. And you know what? And even if you have trouble when you're moving out and everything, the Praxis community is awesome because there's always somebody in the city that you're potentially going to. I personally am interested in the future moving to Austin, Texas. So there's definitely people I know in the Praxis community that are like, yeah, there's some cool places around. Yeah. It's great.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm excited to check out Austin, Texas next year because that's going to be during the Praxis meetup, and that is also near my birthday, so I'm excited for that.
Okay. Yeah. Have you ever been to Austin before?
I have never been to Austin, Texas before, so this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, Austin's great. Where we're doing Praxis weekend, that would be like 35, 45 minutes outside of Austin, but Austin's an awesome city. Hopefully things will be a little, more open.
Yeah, with everything going on with COVID.
But even now, like there's plenty of things to see and do. And everything.
Oh yeah. But yeah. Well then, Cameron, thank you for coming on the show. I don't want to take up too much of your time tonight, my good friend. So yeah, thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Loved having you.
Yeah. Bryce, thanks so much for having me, and thanks so much for going out of your way to raise some money for Praxis scholarships.
Yep, that's right. We've raised as of today, we have raised $213.69, which is awesome. Oh, one quick thing before we head off, Cameron. Is there anything that you would like to plug onto here? Anything?
Just Praxis.
All right, then I will. In the recording later on, I will put a link to the Praxis website down below. And then that is what I will do.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great day, Cameron. Bye-bye. Hey there. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like and subscribe for more. And why not let me know down in the comments what you enjoyed most from the video. Also, a quick announcement before you head off. This year, I'm going to be hosting a Streaming for Charity event over on Twitch starting this December. I'm putting together a scholarship for young professionals who want to jumpstart their career through Praxis instead of going 4 years through college. The goal is to raise $200 this year. It's going to be a fun time this December as we'll be doing community events, and also I will be interviewing Praxis members live on a new podcast that I have in the works. Hey, be sure to keep an eye on my Twitter and Discord for more announcements on what's coming up. Have an awesome day, and I hope to see you this December as I'm streaming for charity this 2020.